Hello, everyone, and welcome to this third eye workshop where I'm going to share with you how we can really begin to set the foundations for this space and how we can begin to develop this space, the third eye. I'm also going to touch on the heart chakra, on the heart, and how it can really set the foundations for our further exploration of the third eye. So stick with me in this video. Towards the end, I'm going to share with you a simple practice you can do every single day, whether for 30 seconds or 30 minutes, to begin developing both your third eye and your heart centers. So join me in this video of exploration, and let's dive right in. So hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Like I said in this video, I'm going to share with you my thoughts on how we can begin to develop the third eye space and how the heart can be the foundations for that exploration. I'm going to try and set aside some of the mystical jargon that comes with the third eye, because I think so many of us have heard this term third eye. I think when you begin to develop spiritually, consciously, when you start investigating a bit more about spirituality, mysticism, and these things, the third eye pops up a lot. It's almost the first thing you hear about. And a lot of the times it can feel like just this made up idea. There's not much reality in it, centered in it, and I can understand that. But it needs to be understood that what is the third eye? The third eye is really just learning to access a different part of your brain, the pineal gland. And I don't know any science behind it. I just know from my inner experience of what it's like to close my eyes and work with that space. So that's where I'm speaking from. I'm not speaking from someone who knows the ins and outs of the scientific parts of the brain and the body and these things. But I can speak from my own experience of what it's like to access this space, develop this space, and walk through this space to the crown. So one way we can look at the third eye is like it's almost a gateway to the crown. So what's the crown chakra? In my experience, so I'm just looking for something here. Where is the draw? Jeez Louise. Okay, that should normally be there. Anyways. So the crown chakra, in my experience, connects us to the cosmos, connects us to the universal mind. But opening the crown requires development of the third eye. It's like the third eye slowly opens the crown so that you can become connected with your universal self, with your soul self, and really begin to receive from it, listen to it, and fall back into it. For those of you who are interested in self-realization, who are consciously interested in self-realization or enlightenment, and walking that path to full self-knowledge, then the third eye can be absolutely crucial in that journey. So here you'll see I have the Sanskrit names for the third eye and the heart chakras. So for those who don't know, the chakras came out of the East, and these are the original names given to these centers. And the chakras are the 7 major energy centers, almost like the 6 major energy centers, and then this one is just its own space. But the 7 major energy centers of the body. All right? And we can work with these centers to begin developing ourselves and our own life and our own experience of life and enhancing it. So obviously in this video, we're discussing the third eye and the heart, but I wanted to touch on their original names because they can help give some further insight into what role they can play in our lives. So first of all, let's start with the heart, anahata. So that means unstruck sound. If you've read my book, Common Ground, link in the description, you'll notice that I mentioned so much about us coming out from stillness. And our whole purpose is to fall back into stillness so that we can come out more skillfully, to identify with the stillness before we identify with the movement. And so the heart is the seat for that transformation, for myself anyways. That's what I found. That once I was able to steady my heart, I was able to move out so much more skillfully and so much more intentionally into the world. And so that can really help when we begin developing our third eye. Or when we begin developing our crown, our throat. or when we begin working in relationships, in our job, in our business, and whatever we're doing physically, any movement that we're doing can only be enhanced the more we anchor ourselves in stillness. Because in that stillness, you have access to the ultimate. You have access to the universal intelligence which this creation is flowing upon. You have access to the Creator. So stepping back into stillness is what the spiritual process is really about. If you're watching this video and you're hoping I'm going to share with you some ways that you can use your third eye to have these fantastical imaginary experiences with thoughts and ideas and colors and visions and all these things, it's the wrong video for you. All I'm interested in is helping people become more stable within themselves mentally and emotionally so that they can burst forth in a way that they couldn't even imagine before. So the heart is really the place for that. The heart is really the place for stabilizing yourself in that stillness, returning to that stillness, falling into that stillness and dissolving into that stillness, and then being able to come forward beautifully and skillfully for the benefit of humanity. So the heart is unstruck sound, is what translates from the Sanskrit name anahata. So unstruck sound is an interesting idea. Like I said, as I mentioned in my book and in many of my talks and conversations and these videos of me talking to myself, the whole goal is to fall back into stillness. From that stillness, a different kind of current can pull you forward. Because if you think of your everyday life today, when you get up and go about your life, going to work, going to school, relationships of all types, friendships, family, romantic, whatever the case, the conversations you have, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you cook, the way you clean, the way you sit on the couch, the thoughts you have, the emotions you have, where are they coming from? Where are they really coming from? That can be such an important question to ask yourself, and I think is the foundation of many people's spiritual progress. Because they begin to realize who in the hell is having all these thoughts, these emotions, doing all these activities? Who is it that is this big person in this world? I think the answers to those questions can be found in the heart. Because as you become steady, as you become still, you disappear. And you realize that all of this was just moving. You got entangled, but now you step back into the heart. You can untangle yourself and then move forward. So that is my little spiel on what the heart can do for you, especially as you begin exploring the third eye. It can give you that steadiness to then move forward skillfully and intentionally. So now we move up to the third eye, Agna. So the Sanskrit name Agna translates to perception or command. I also saw another translation called beyond wisdom, which I find so interesting. But let's focus on perception and command. So like I mentioned before, working with your third eye is not this, made up kind of, it's not this unattainable mystical idea. It's a reality for everyone who's in a human body. It's learning to access a different part of your brain consciously with intention. Allowing that space to wake up, allowing that space to develop, and allowing that space to allow in more and more light from the crown. As that space, the pineal gland, develops, as the third eye develops and is able to hold more light, you will transform rapidly. Your perception of life will transform, and you'll be able to understand things on a far more subtle level. I'm sure many of us have had experiences where we can look at someone that we love dearly, and we can know that they're in a bad mood. They don't have to tell us anything. They don't even have to look a specific way. We just look at them and we sense it. Or those of us who have been able to walk into a room and recognize that there's a fight that happened here. Something happened here. Or we just look at a person walking down the street and we can tell what state they're in. All of this is just perception on more subtle levels. And we also know some people, and some of you who may be watching this, who find it very difficult to pick up on subtle cues. And you find it hard to see anything but the physical, but the solid physical. You find it hard to perceive emotions, perceive the subtlety of other people and life itself. So the third eye gives you access to more subtle dimensions of creation, which will only help, again, in acting more skillfully in life. Because that's really the point of the spiritual process, is to help you act more skillfully, help you act more intentionally in your life, to really build a life that is not only helpful for you and fun for you, but helpful and beneficial for all of humanity. That's what a true spiritual aspirant and a true spiritual person is here for, just to help. And so developing your third eye and developing your perception to be able to pick up on more subtlety is really what we're doing here. And I like that they say command is another translation for agna, command. Because to me, command doesn't necessarily mean dominating. It doesn't mean conquering. It just means you have a more subtle understanding of what's playing out and why it's playing out. You can sit with your friends and family and acquaintances and strangers on the bus, and you can begin to just subtly understand why people are acting the way they're acting, why life itself is moving the way it's moving, why the birds chirp the way they chirp. You have that understanding, that supreme understanding, which gives you a certain level of command over your own emotions, thoughts, and experience of life. It's not about having command over other people. Now, I'm sure you can do that if you wish, but it's about having command over your own experience of life and understanding the why people act the way they act. For example, if someone yells at you, if you're walking in public and someone bumps into you and they start screaming at you because they bumped into you, you have two options. You can either engage with them and meet them on that level, or you can just look at them, understand that they've had a rough day, stressful day, whatever it is, but you perceive the more subtle layers of what's going on, and you simply let them go, and you forget about it. You have command over that. But having the more subtle awareness, being able to perceive things on that subtle level of why they're happening the way they're happening, why the planet is moving the way it's moving, why creation is moving the way it's moving, why the humans around you are acting the way they are, gives you a certain level of command in any situation that you're in. So that's just diving into the names, Anahata and Agna, and developing them a bit more because, as I mentioned in our throat chakra workshop, which is available on our website, I mentioned that it's so important for us to begin understanding the Sanskrit names of the chakras if we wish to work with the chakras, because it gives us a bit more of an in-depth understanding. It gives us a bit more of an in-depth understanding of what they are and how they can be of use to us and how we can, in the role they can play in our lives. So that's really my little spiel as to how the heart chakra can be of assistance and how the third eye can be of assistance. And just trying to give a bit more of a less mystical, jargony, unattainable kind of idea of the third eye space. Of course, the third eye is there in all of us and available to all of us. And learning to work with it and develop it to perceive life and eventually know life, to experience yourself for who and what you truly are. That is a possibility for all of us, but it takes developing, it takes work. And if you'd like to develop this space, the third eye space and the heart, here's one simple practice you can do. And I share this practice with anyone who's willing to talk to me about meditation because it's so simple, but it can be so life-changing. I'm speaking from my own experience and from the experience of those who I've worked with. I've seen it literally change them in the way they perceive life, the way they have conversations, the way they act. It just shifts. But it takes consistency and consistency. So all you got to do is you just close your eyes. You focus your eyes between your eyebrows. You breathe in and out through your nose only, not through your mouth. In and out through your nose with your eyes focused between your eyebrows. And you bring your awareness down into your heart. And you just pay attention to your heart, your entire chest, but you just pay attention to it and you just notice it. So you focus your eyes between your eyebrows, you breathe in and out through your nose, and you bring your awareness into your heart. The more you do that, the more of an impact it will have on your life. And the deeper you do it, if you do it consistently, I would suggest that the more you do it, the more you begin to notice the stillness which is behind the movement of your breath and of your heart. See if you can begin to go beyond the sound, beyond the movement. See if you can begin to just settle into that stillness by, again, focusing your eyes between your eyebrows, closing your eyes, focusing between the eyebrows, breathing in and out through your nose only, and then settling into your heart and just being aware. The more you do that, the more aware you'll become of the stillness, and the more you'll anchor yourself in that stillness, and the more your life will change. Because again, from stillness, you'll be able to move more intentionally and consciously, rather than just being pushed and pulled unconsciously. Because again, as I said, consider what you do throughout your day, the way you get up in the morning, the way you go about your activities, the way you go to bed. How much of it is conscious and how much of it is just on repeat? You're just doing it because that's all you know, because this is what you think you need to do. But how much of it is intentional and conscious? It will vary from person to person, and there's no judgment. It does not matter whether you're completely conscious or completely unconscious, but it's about recognizing and accepting where you are and then taking the steps to improve, taking the steps to become more conscious and more intentional in your life. Because who doesn't want to be intentional? Who doesn't want to take control of their own darn life? Who doesn't want to act their best at all times? And so if you want to start taking those steps, even if you're very conscious, you consider yourself very intentional, these things, there's still work to be done until you know your true self. Once this space opens up like a flower in spring, until that happens, there will be work to be done. And even after, there's still work. But developing this space, developing the heart, so important in just living a life of well-being, living a life of balance. So again, if that's something you'd like to do, close your eyes, focus your eyes between your eyebrows, breathe in and out through your nose, and bring your awareness into your heart. Wait until your heart feels settled, and then just come out whenever you want to. Open your eyes again, come back together. If you're feeling ungrounded, rub your hands together, place them on both sides of your head, draw them down the sides to ground yourself. Drink some water, wash your face with cold water, walk barefoot on the ground, hands in the soil, whatever you got to do to ground yourself back. Those are some options. You can rewind that and note that down if you want. But it's important to remain grounded. As the roots go deeper, the branches go higher. What we're working with here with the third eye and the heart and the crown is the branches going higher. So remembering to be grounded and stable and bringing all this information and all these experiences into your body, experiencing them, and being able to allow them to transcend and change your life is important. All right. Of course, if you'd like some additional help with that or additional workshops or resources, check out the links in the description of this video. We have a few different programs and courses you can check out. Also, the book Common Ground. There's some practical exercises in there, and I dive a lot deeper into my thoughts that I'm expressing today and how important stillness can be. And the final thing I'll say, I almost forgot, is to just connect with nature. If you're a true spiritual aspirant, if you're someone who wants to know your true nature, you want to develop your third eye, your heart, there's not much better than going and sitting in a forest, sitting by a river, feeling the wind on you, and smiling. All right. Because again, all we're really doing here is learning how to be humans. That's it. That's all we're doing. And what does it mean to be human? It means to be of the earth, because these bodies have just come up from the earth and they'll return to them. So doing our best to be a human is all it is to be spiritual. And so connecting with the planet by being in nature, and then doing your internal work, focusing your eyes between your eyebrows, bringing the nail to your nose, focusing on your heart, these things go hand in hand. All right, everyone, that's it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If there's any other workshops you'd like me to make or topics to discuss, please let me know. I'll be happy to do them. All right. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.